Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope you guys are having a good one. So today we are going to cover what you need to do to get to a rank 1 killer, as well as what you should do mentally and how you should approach the game. This guide is going to have a lot of information packed into it, but I am going to make it quite simple that everyone can understand it, whether you are a beginner or an expert. All of you guys can use these tips. I think that they're very useful and they're going to help you out later down the road. So stick around for all of that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into our first tip. Alright, so the first tip that we are going to cover is getting to know the killer you are playing, as well as choosing a playstyle that fits towards what you enjoy and all that good stuff. So, for example, you might enjoy playing a sneaky killer who uses stealth to get the upper hand on survivors. So, some examples of, very stealth, killers would be the Shape, Ghostface, and then the Pig. Obviously, you got like your wraiths and all that good stuff, but let's continue. Then, on the other hand, you might enjoy killers who are straight to the point, who use their power to get into the thick of things right away. So, for example, killers like the Hillbilly, the Doctor, and the Legion, they're going to use their power to get right into the action right away. Now, the most important thing is to remember when picking a killer to learn all that you can about them. So you need to figure out if the killer fits your playstyle and what you're trying to achieve. So like I was saying earlier, you just kind of got to figure it out, what you want to do, what type of killer you would like to be, and there's many different ways to play them, which we are going to get into right here. So in most cases, a lot of killers are going to be quite similar. Now, just because they're similar doesn't mean you can play them exactly the same, and a lot of people make that mistake. So, for example, we'll use Ghostface and Michael, aka the Shape. So, anyways, with the Shape, essentially, you're going to play very slow, very defensive, and try not to get found, because you have 3 tiers of your power, obviously. So, you're gonna just try to pretty much scope them out and trying to not be found. And then you got someone like Ghostface who really doesn't have any speed reduction like how Michael does until he gets to tier 2. So you can play very stealth-like while still being very aggressive. Now there are many examples, but that is just one big example, especially from the stealth killers. But with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into tip number 2. For our second tip, we are going to briefly cover some perks that might help you get to rank 1. Now, I am not going to cover every perk because, contrary to popular belief and all the other stuff you see, there is no right or wrong answer. It all goes based off of your personal preference. You're going to need perks that are going to complement your playstyle as well as cover up your weaknesses. That's kind of what they're there for, obviously. You're going to want to have perks that are going to cover up what you are not necessarily good at or you have trouble with. So, for example, one of my biggest weaknesses can be tracking at times. Sometimes, like, I get on a roll and then I hit them, then lose them, or I down them and somehow lose them. So, anyways, one of my biggest weaknesses is tracking. So, for example, what I like to use is something called thrilling trimmers that allows me to see what generator is being worked on while the others are blocked off. So that way I know where they are at, or at least a general idea. And then if I knock them down, another good perk that's actually quite underrated, at least in my opinion, is called Deerstalker, that lets you see their aura whenever they are down. Now, there are a lot of perks in general that are just going to be able to cover up a lot of your weaknesses. So, for example, you got your Sloppy Butcher, you got Overcharge, and like I was saying earlier, you got Thrilling Trimmers. Now, these perks can slow the game down quite a bit if you have a really good loadout. So, this one, you're just going to have to kind of figure out what you are going for. So, you might have a perk build that is dedicated to slowing down the game by breaking generators, or, making them take longer to heal. Like I said, that's all personal preferences, but those are just some perks that I like to use myself. And then the last thing regarding perks that I really want to cover. Now, you can run whatever you want, but this is just my personal preference. I would not use Hex Ruin, Barbecue and Chili, or perks like NOED, especially if you are a brand new killer. These perks honestly will make you lazy, and you really don't learn how to be a better killer. Me personally, like I said, I don't use them. I like to constantly improve, but those are just some options, but I don't like to use the constant meta perks, and at least to me, you never really grow, and you really don't get the skill that you need. Now, with our perks covered, let's go ahead and hop into the mental portion of playing killer. Fuck. The third tip that I am going to be covering is very important, and it's going to pretty much determine how well you do in your games, and that is how you mentally approach the game when playing killer. Now, the way that I approach the game whenever I'm playing is by telling myself that I am the best killer in the game and having the confidence in my skills to win the game. Now, whenever I say that to myself, and like I get like really excited and whatnot, I'm not saying it to be, cocky or brag or whatever. Like, trust me, I know I'm not the greatest killer ever, and I'm sure there's thousands upon thousands of people who are better than me. But the point being is, that's how I kind of get in the zone, especially whenever I'm playing killer, because honestly, you need to really have some confidence and moxie just to kind of at least be able to perform the role of killer, at least quite effectively, at least in my opinion. Now, it's pretty much the same type of concept if you are getting ready for an athletic competition. So if you got a big game or something, you're always going to get, really excited and all that good stuff and get, pumped. And it's also like the same type of thing if you are going to like a big job interview. There really is no difference other than the fact of you're getting pumped up and you're getting ready. You got to have some confidence and moxie with what you're doing. Now, as weird as that sounds, like it's probably one of the best tips I can give, because you're going to have a lot of setbacks, especially whenever you're starting out as killer, and especially once you get to that higher ranks. You're going to have to, have the confidence and at least, be able to at least make changes on the fly if you have to, which you're going to more often than not. But anyways, the point being is, once you get to a higher rank, you are going to have some struggles, and there probably is going to be a time when it gets a little rough. And you know what? That's okay, because the more you practice and all of that good stuff, you're going to build confidence by learning and growing, especially after each game if you evaluate it, more of like a learning experience rather than it being like the end all be all. So if you think of it more like a learning experience, it's just going to make things a lot better, as well as build your confidence and get you to where you want to be. So let's go ahead and hop into our fourth and final tip. Alright, so for our last tip that I want to cover, this kind of ties in with the last tip. So anyways, we are going to cover how to help manage anger in Dead by Daylight. Now, I know that sounds really weird, but no one really talks about it. So no matter what you play, whether it's Survivor and Killer, you're going to experience a lot of frustration, and if you haven't, you've really never truly played Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight can be quite frustrating and hard to deal with at times. Now, for me, I can honestly say that I struggle with it at times. You know what I mean? It is quite frustrating from both sides, like I said, whether you are a survivor and or killer. But the most important thing to remember at the end of the day is that it's a game, we're all just there to have fun. That's the best part about gaming. It's meant to be fun and all that good stuff. Now, the thing that at least I find that helps me, and I used to do like this type of stuff like a lot. So if you have a rough game, you need to at least take a second to recap what happened. So for example, like, if you just, played bad or, stuff like that, you just kind of need to think about it and just kind of regroup and figure out like what happened. Now, one way that I've kind of figured out and got better, at least this is what I did and it worked for me. Now, one easy way to help out with this, at least trying to figure out like what happened, is honestly just record your gameplay. As weird as that sounds, now there is plenty of free software that does it. So for example, on PC, if you play Dead by Daylight on PC, you got your OBS type software, which is what I use to record my videos and all that good stuff. And then if you're on console, they have a built-in recording software. So literally it's just one push of a button. So that way you can at least recap and see what happened and figure out what changes you could make according, to your mistakes or anything like that. Like I said, that helped me out quite a bit. And then also, you can also just take a break too. I know that sounds very basic, but you know what? Sometimes a break for a little bit really helps you out. It helps me out, even still to this day in Dead by Daylight. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I hope these tips helped you out. I know they helped me out, so hopefully passing the knowledge on to you will at least help you out getting to rank 1 or at least getting to a higher rank. But please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.